Salut YouTube, UMINEKO, chapitre 7. On est parti. La fin du chapitre 6 était monumentale. J'ai hâte de voir ce que le chapitre 7 me réserve. J'imagine encore beaucoup de grandes surprises. Comment s'appelle l'épisode 7? Requiem of the Golden... Mais c'est... Comment ne pas comparer à Golden Wind après? Requiem of the Golden Witch. Good morning. Bah, littéralement Jojo. Mais comme j'ai dit, Doppio Diavolo Situation sur Béatrice, enfin Shannon Cannon. Il manque juste un petit King Crimson, quoi. Requiem of the Golden Wind, presque, finalement. Requiem of the Golden Witch. Good morning. Schedule for today is the funeral of the Golden Witch in her game. The days of the game are already over and nothing remains but fond memories. Here the cold hard truth will be revealed and death will come to the game. There is a bit of difficulty to this one. And down Requiem, quoi. Warning, this episode is locked. Et là, je l'unlock et je regarde le titre. Pas du tout. Allez, on est parti. Évidemment, l'histoire est fictionnelle. On le sait maintenant. Unless... Comment ça, l'intégralité des blagues? Comment ça? Pourquoi? Vas-y. Bah écoute, je sais pas à quoi m'attendre, mais avec plaisir alors. Earth to earth, ashes to ashes, dust to dust, illusions to illusions, and dreams to dreams. A dream is something journeying to sand between the coming and receding waves. Something so fragile that it wipes blank every time a wave comes in. So the heartless might sneer, saying that drawing such things is useless and meaningless. However, no wave will ever come again to wipe away the dream she drew. And know that final, beautiful dream of hers will not disappear for all eternity. Come, try and picture it. It's after the rays of the gentle afternoon sun on a warm spring day. Simply forget to grow dim ever again. It's truly such a wonderful thing. Witness to your final dream. Publius Virgilia Maro. Virgilia. Ok. Hein? Oula. Qu'est-ce qui se passe? J'ai jamais vu cette pièce. The suspects were gathered in a room and several inquisitors of heresy were reporting to the result of their investigation. Commence déjà comme ça là, hein, c'est déjà la fin du chap en fait. Their uniforms closely resembled those of either and Jungfrau, but they were slightly different. Also different were the badges signifying their department. Then came the sound of someone clapping their hands and arms. It was the lead female inquisitor. She was announcing that all the reasoning had been completed. As has been shown, it is all quite clear. Know that the preceding logic had proven the non-existence of your alibi. At the other end of her pointing finger was a quivering maid with frightened eyes. Her name was... well, that's not important. Celle-là, je l'adore. Celle-là, je l'adore, je l'ai mise dans ma playlist. What matters now is that she could have entered the cloakroom studio where the victim was found whenever she pleased. And furthermore, that her claimed alibi for the time of the crime had been proven to contradict the facts. On dirait un peu... celle-là, elle fait très Undertale dans l'idée, genre... un thème de papyrus, tu vois. Un petit peu. To contradict the facts. Taking, the maid tried to continue in an illogical pleading that all of her statements had already been seen through. With this we conclude or prove to the who done it and the how done it. And that your position as the culprit is not an uncheckable fact. You must be joking. Why would I kill the master I loved and respected so? I have no motive, no reason. What is it and how? And that establishing this is more than sufficient. Please allow me to speak. Oh, know that motives are necessary in mysteries. The Inquisitor spoke coldly. Qu'est-ce qui se putain de passe? Hein? After finishing her witch's prayer, Virgilia stepped back from the coffin, which lay on an altar bedecked with many beautiful roses. In no place, Butler moved to the front of the coffin, wearing his territorial lord's cape. Though the cape was supposed to represent dignity and majesty, it somehow made Butler look smaller. Butler held the book with a majestic binding in his hand. It was a game record that had just been written, or perhaps it was a tale, a game, or else a fragment. Written in it was the dream that would be more enjoyable for her than any other. Butler pressed it against his forehead and contemplated for some time. C'est la mort de Béatrice, genre rideau quoi. Tombeau et tout. Then he kissed it and laid it gently in the coffin. It rested upon her chest. She looked like a little girl clutching her favorite stuffed animal as she drifted off to sleep. This is the sole tale I have to offer you, Apu. This tale will be shut up with you in your coffin for all eternity, so no one will be able to read it except for you there in your coffin. Shut away in that cat box, the only unchanging and violable eternal tale. This way, no one will be able to defile it. No one can deny it and no one can argue against it. It is just between me and her, just the two of us, our one and only certain truth. Oh. Il se passe quoi? C'est quoi ce bordel encore, putain? La mort de Béatrice, là? Qu'est-ce qui se passe, putain? On est où, là? Qu'est-ce qui est... L'aide. Those bastards. A man dashed through a town wrapped in twilight. The daytime hustle and bustle of this beautiful village, which combined the traditional with the orderly in the classic style of the last century, now seemed like a mere dream. The orange setting sun was already hidden behind the clock tower, and the narrow alleyway was rapidly descending into darkness. As the gaslight began to turn on, they only made the darkness of the twilight stand out all the more. The man sprinted. There was no time. He had to hurry. He'd had several experiments to do and things he had to check, and it had all taken longer than he'd expected. There's no mistake here. The whodunit and howdunit are more than enough in the mystery genre. In the mystery genre, the motive of the whydunit is given the lowest priority. To have a murder, you need to have a culprit and he needs to commit a crime. Motive isn't required for that. So it's usually the most ignored element. In fact, these days there are even some who call it unnecessary. If you find the culprit with nothing but the whydunit, that's no mystery. That's propaganda. However, just because of that fact, it doesn't mean you can neglect the motive, the heart. Qu'est-ce qui se putain passe? I both know how much fun she'll be having in her final sleep, so I doubt anyone could disturb it. After all, who could possibly disturb a sleeping child smiling at a happy dream? Come, it is time for us to leave. If we're too noisy, we'll wake her from her dream. You're right. What else would you do with a sleeping kid except put a blanket on them, turn off the lights, and walk away quietly? After looking at the coffin one last time, Julia turned around quietly. Butler did the same, but then he stopped and turned to face the rose-covered altar. Butler offered up his final words within his heart. As long as those words didn't leave his mouth, no one would be able to know what they were. However, those words of the heart caused the butler's expression to change several times. At first he frowned sadly, then his face clouded with remorse, and then changed to a bitter, exasperated smile. It flashed through several varied expressions. Then the final expression that crossed his face was surprisingly a gentle smile. Something rose to Butler's lips. However, he beat it back down. There could certainly be no words to describe the many feelings he kept in his chest. So saying anything aloud would probably be crude. Butler understood this and stopped himself from speaking once more with a wry smile. Thank you. I have done nothing to deserve your gratitude. I'll leave the rest to you. After seeing Virginia nod back at him, Butler turned away from the altar one more time and left the chapel. Virginia also disappeared, and with that, all disturbance that might have interrupted her blissful sleep had vanished. C'est quoi ce début de chapitre là? C'est quoi ce truc de fou malade là? The inquisitors of heresy listened with calm, no scornful gazes. They listened to the frantic babbling of the maid accused of murdering her master. However, nothing she said could bury the fault in her own alibi. They were all mere emotional arguments. I loved and respected the master so much. I had no motive for killing him. No matter how much he spoke, he only made her look more and more like the floundering true culprit, struggling pathetically. The requirement for the whodunit and howdunit had been satisfied. As for the whydunit, the motive, the heart, no matter how much she spoke of gratitude for her master, who had graciously given her a job when she'd been left by the wayside after various misfortunes, it didn't have occasion the slightest in the mystery genre. Therefore, her motive didn't matter. All of that could just be squeezed out of the culprit afterwards. An inquisitor of heresy took a roll of parchment and held it forth, cutting off the maid's sobs and protests. This is how you committed the crime. Know that this indictment has been received by the Great Court and that your arrest has been approved. Here is the warrant for your arrest. Motive necessary. Know that such a thing is completely extraneous to the matter of pinpointing the culprit. Please allow me to speak. Not who of the SSVD possess methods of forcing or revealing criminals to reveal the truth. With this interrogation still blessed by the power of justice, we Inquisitor of Heresy will strap up your limbs, burn you, crush you, stretch you and hang you, and in so doing wring the red truth out of you. It isn't even necessary for you to confess. Aids, arrest that maid. Wasn't me, I didn't kill the master. No! Who is that? Comment ça t'as lu que ta drop? Sur Karuta? Genre j'ai pas me le faire spoil 1 heure avant de jouer. Qui est ce mec? All this right there. You got the wrong culprit. A man kicked the door open and the Inquisitors were all shocked at the sight of him. Why are you here? Know that its case is no longer your responsibility. Quiet. You find one person without an alibi and just assume that she's the culprit. Do you really think there is no need for a motive? For a heart in crime? Crimes are committed by people. There are no crimes without a heart. I never accept the theory that neglect the heart. Nor your obsession over the why done it is simply embarrassing. The why done it is unnecessary. Such a thing can be extracted easily through interrogation. Even the Great Court has already acknowledged that this woman is the culprit. True, the Great Court does assume that everyone besides the maid has an alibi, but not just because they're hard you say so, and they've mistaken your overconfidence and conceit for wisdom. If any one of the other suspects lost their alibi, your evidence so far proved nothing. Just look at how parodic some of those other alibis are. Did the clock in the reception hall chime midnight at exactly the right time? Did the dog by the back door bark at everyone? So you managed to prove the maid's alibi false. Congratulations, but does it end here? It may have been possible for her to do it, but does she have any motive at all? Are the alibis for your other absolutely perfect? This maid wasn't the only one with a false alibi. You have to keep on searching if you want to find the others. Was there some sort of grudge against the victim or some money-related problem? Don't abandon motive, don't abandon the heart. Dry mysteries where the motive can just be figured out later worth entering time. C'est qui ce goat? If the maid isn't the culprit, then why did she fake an alibi? Even asking such a question is a waste of time. Now that we just have to interrogate her, wring out the red truth and have her sing in red blood to everything that happened at the time of the crime. Yeah, you probably can do that. You can just use that torture of yours to squeeze out everything frankly and objectively as seen from the eyes of God. But you know what? I never accept mysteries and theories that lack heart. I have already taken over responsibility for this case. Even look me right here. Come now, Aid. Know that there is no reason to hesitate. I order you to arrest this maid. When she gave this order, her subordinates hesitated, looking back and forth between the superior and that man. I won't let you. They were culprits of a different person. It's possible to use motive to find them, and their alibi trick is the old one. You can't neglect the heart. There is no need for that. We just have to find the suspicious ones who could have committed the crime, interrogate them, and squeeze out the red truth. On the off chance that they aren't the culprit, then we just have to interrogate the next suspect. You call that reasoning? Stand back. We will arrest that woman. Know that this maid is a culprit. It's forbidden for a servant to be the... On va où là? C'est quoi ce bordel? Wow! What did you say? The wires of power blasted away the haze, trying to arrest the maid. Van Dyne's 20 rule, Rule 11. If you want to torture this maid, make sure you double check the alibis for the second wife and another first. Because you already have a clear alibi for the time of the crime. That's an alibi? Damn it, a fool like you couldn't understand, no matter how easy I make it for you. If you want to call yourself the head inquisitor, try and figure out at least that much for yourself. Until then I'll be taking that maid arrest warrant. Then what about you? Can you prove that this maid didn't commit the crime? That she was clearly away from the kitchen at the time of the crime. What was she doing then, and where? Can't prove it, I can't prove it, and you can't prove it, no one can. That's why he will have no choice but to use this torture device to interrogate her until the red truth is squeezed out. You can squeeze as much blood and truth from the true culprit as you damn well please. However, I won't let you interrogate or torture anyone who isn't that culprit. This is why everyone says you're too soft. All the suspicious must be interrogated. That is how we Inquisitor of Heresy conduct our witch trials. That's right, we're Inquisitor of Heresy. Failing evil, which is our job. However, we mustn't risk urging the innocent. We mustn't put them under suspicion. All humans have their own personal truth. Those shouldn't be exposed when they commit crimes. We've been given the right to expose them, but there's not one thing we can do. What? No one, not even God, has the right to expose the innocent truth on those who have no sins. Mais c'est qui ce monstre là? Et pourquoi il pop chapitre 7? You may finally realize that he was trying to protect her. Don't know who you are, but thank you very much. I'm really not the culprit. Yeah, I know. Your boyfriend said he'd be willing to give up everything to prove your alibi. You should thank him. Et pourquoi il est habillé comme Gangplank? Oui. C'est une vraie question, ça. Qui est ce pirate? Well, that kid said that honor and reputation are worth nothing compared to you. But if he does that, I won't come to that. Explaining the secrets between lovers is a job for the third-rate magazines. That's not mystery. I'll never allow for helpless reasoning. Then for the first time, the man's sullen expression relaxed, and he patted the maid's head roughly. I'm sure you two will be happy together. Still meeting together in secret while on the job is hardly praiseworthy. Try to keep that to a minimum. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. These words were heard only by the two of them. The man had learned of her innocence, which could only be proven by exposing the secrets of a pair of young lovers, and he had rushed about in search of a solution, resentful of the arrogance of those trying to expose this by forcible means. Points of theory making is not to create a culprit or to trample the truths that lie in the heart of those who have not sinned. If you want to play the detective, don't neglect the heart, otherwise we're just intellectual rapists. Don't forget it. Oh, c'est marrant ça. Ça me fait penser à quelqu'un dans le chapitre 6, tout ça. Me demande si c'est pas fait exprès, dis donc. Ouh là là. When the man spoke, the Inquisitors no longer had any way to argue back. This man's name is Will. Will, quoi. And yet that's not what everyone used to call him. An Inquisitor of Heresy of the SSVD, the 8th District Repentant Enforcement Agency of the Great Court of Heaven. Wizard hunting rights. OMG, Ace a tourné. We are so back. This is the last thing I have to pass on to you guys. If you want to be the next wizard hunting right, remember it. No matter what. C'est Will Wright. Oh. Ce n'est pas... C'est pas l'opening de chapitre 5 et 6, là. Oh là. Il y a eu de l'anglais. Très beau. Très joli opening. Je pensais qu'on allait avoir 4 fois le même pour les Answer Arc. Eh ben non. Surpris. J'ai rien compris au début du chap, mais j'imagine que ça... Enfin, j'ai l'impression que c'était l'enterrement de Béatrice et que Butler lui faisait ses adieux en lui remettant le forgeries du chapitre 6. Mais pourquoi? Et pourquoi il y a un bug qui pop en mode gangplank et qui saucissonne tout le monde? Enfin, qui ne les saucissonne pas, mais il leur dit, bon, vous êtes débiles, quoi. Qu'est-ce qui se passe? C'est un autre jeu, en fait, là. C'est plus UMINEKO, en fait. Quietly, quietly. The rain fell down. The rain of sadness dripped down the outer walls of the chapel, quietly washing away the dust of the world of the living. The chapel doors were open. During a wedding, only those with invitation are allowed inside. However, during a funeral, the doors are open to all who remember the deceased. So this must be a funeral. A shadow holding an umbrella approached the chapel. It was Will. A reception desk had been set up at the chapel's entrance. As the shadow approached, Cannon, who had been sitting at his desk, stood up and welcomed him with a bow. "This is the reception desk. We're collecting the names of all mourners. If you would sign in here." "Sorry, but I'm not a mourner. I'm here to meet with someone." "You came to a funeral to meet someone?" A dubious expression rose to Cannon's face. Will pulled an envelope from his pocket and showed him the sender's name. "My apologies, please enter." "Thanks. Could I at least have one of those?" "Thank you very much. I'm sure she will be pleased." Then handed him one of the set of the golden roses, which were being handed out to all the mourners. Will took it, silently bowed his head, and entered the chapel. Inside the chapel, several people who appeared to be the family of the deceased were gathered, and they all seemed to be recalling memories of the departed. Wow, what? C'est pas la Golden Land qu'on avait imaginé, je crois. Hein. Oh, Beatrice. Ouais, Kinzo, ferme ta gueule. Allez. Lazar, please take care. Why don't you rest in the waiting room for a bit? I killed her, I did it. Absurd. How could that be, Rosa-sama? C'est vrai qu'il a tué une des Béatrices, Rosa, en soi. Father's very bowling. Yeah, Beatrice, huh? I'm sure you didn't cry this much when Mother passed away. Hey, there's not the time to say things like that. Some sobbed, unable to conceal their tears, and some spoke softly of old memories. They were all remembering the dead in their own way, it seemed. When Will approached the altar, several people turned around. Of course, none of them knew who Will was. Paying this no mind, Will walked in front of the casket of the altar, which seemed to be buried under golden roses. Inside the casket there was no corpse. Instead, although it lay there in place of a body, was a single thick book with an extravagant binding. The space all around it was filled with countless golden roses. There were words printed on the book's cover. "To my beloved Beatrice." Oh. October 5th, 1986. Mais ça c'est Butler qui l'a écrit du coup. What the fuck? Miss Beatrice, if it was Miss Misters, then forgive me. Misters. Mrs. ou Misters? Comment on lit MRS? Mrs. ou Misters? Je sais pas. I've never met you. However, allow me to express my condolences. He took the rose he had received from the reception area and placed it in the casket. He had absolutely no connection to the woman called Beatrice. However, since he had come to visit the funeral, he had to show this minimum amount of respect for the dead. As part of this, Will prayed for the passage of the dead into the next world. On sait qu'il est pas humain déjà, lui, il a dit qu'il était des Heaven. Eddie Inquisitor of Heaven. Eh. Pardon me, but who might you be? I am Shurmia Cross. I'm serving as the chief mourner. It is my child, Lion. Il se passe quoi là? Ce putain de passe là. Attends, je... Qu'est-ce qui se passe? Pleased to meet you. I'm Shurmia Lion. Lion? Who the heck are you? It's written as... but pronounced Leon. J'ai dodge des bullets à part Featherine. Mais Featherine, en fait, on aurait dit un méca robot sur la carte, quoi. Donc j'ai pas... ça m'a pas spoil un design ou quoi. Oh, attends. Est-ce que c'est pas l'enfant adopté que Natsui a tué, en fait? Mais pourquoi? The first child of Cross and Natsui, Jessica is their second child. Donc c'est forcément ça, I guess. Mais pourquoi elle est là? Lion. Surtout elle ressemble à Béatrice. Eh vas-y, je vais me faire des films, hein. C'est bon. En fait elle ressemble plus à Jessica qu'à Béatrice, donc non. Mais ouais, vas-y, je vais me faire des films avec tout le monde là. C'est une catastrophe. Je repars en schizophrénie. Alors que je suis censé avoir tout conclu presque. Pas grave, allez. I guess it's a bit strange for a Japanese name. Will stared at Lion's face, wearing a confused expression. He hadn't seemed particularly interested. Ah, attends. Je viens de capter. Leon. Ça se prononce Leon. Leon. On. Shannon, Canon, Leon. Allez hop. On va laisser peser, on a une nouvelle théorie. Non, j'ai pas de théorie. Mais je comprends plus rien. Allez. C'est pas grave. He hadn't seemed particularly interested in crows, but Lion had apparently drawn some sort of reaction from him. Rather than interest, it was more I thought it felt like something was out of place. Crow-sama, Madame says it's about time. Oh, I see. Ladies and gentlemen, if we're too noisy in here, it may disturb the dead. I've been told that the waiting room had been readied. Shall we move over there? When Crows called out to everyone, they began to move towards the chapel waiting room. My apologies. Leon. Leon! Je suis obligé de le lire Leon, du coup. Mais j'ai la voix de Ashley de Resident Evil 4 dès que je lis Leon. Leon! Faut l'avoir, faut avoir joué au jeu. Voilà. Mais du coup, c'est particulièrement horrible. Leon, could you entertain our guest for now? I will guide the others to the waiting room. Yes, father. It looked like a natural conversation with no awkwardness for either father or child. Father and child, is it? Yes, but why do you ask? Well, show me a cross child is supposed to be Jessica. Jessica's my little sister. Do you need me to call for her? No, that won't be necessary. Apparently, some sort of game was already being played right off the bat. Scratching at his head with an irritated look on his face, Will glanced around. Pardon me, but what sort of relation did you have with the deceased? None at all. It's a real pain. And why did you come to this funeral? Since Leon... Leon! Je peux pas, je suis désolé. Faut que je... Eh, si vous avez jamais joué à Resident Evil 4, je vais vous envoyer une compile des Leon de Ashley. Et vous allez comprendre ma douleur, je pense. Since Leon... Je vais le faire que comme ça, je suis désolé. As a fairly mild person. Oui, mild, super nature dans FRLG pour commencer avec un carapuce. Cela dit. Super nature. Fun fact, ça m'étonne pas. C'est pour ça que je... Leon! Since Leon was a fairly mild person, Will's behavior was met with nothing more than a blank expression. A normal person would probably have put on a dubious look long before this. Will scratched his head again and yelled angrily at someone other than Leon! Je suis désolé. Je peux pas le faire autrement. Ça se prononce... Vas-y, allez. I'm here. Isn't it about time you showed your face? The members of the Ushurmiya family had already followed Cross's instructions and moved to the waiting room. Je pense que c'est... Là, on est peut-être dans une game... On est peut-être dans la game... Bah, je pense, en vrai. On est sûrement dans la game de Featherine et Burn, du coup. Mais... Enfin, je pense, mais c'est bizarre, quoi. On dirait qu'on est après le... Enfin, vas-y, je comprends rien. Members of the Ushurmiya family had already followed Cross's instruction and moved to the waiting room. By no one could be seen in this cold, vast chapel, decorated with gold roses, except for Will and Leon! So you've come, Wizard Hunting, right, Inquisitor of Heresy? The girl's voice came suddenly from behind the pair. Oh, elle va pas nous casser les couilles, là. C'est bon, When Leon turned around in surprise, a girl had appeared out of nowhere and drifted down on top of the altar. She landed softly on the sacred funeral altar. I thought this was perfectly normal, crushing the golden roses under her shoes. Vraiment désolé, mais vous allez comprendre pourquoi. Of course, Leon didn't know this girl. Just why on earth were all the people inevitable to the funeral popping up one after another? I'm already retired. If you have a job you need doing, go ask the new right. Il est à la retraite, le man. No, you're the one I want to ask. I'm giving this case to you. Did you read the tale I sent you? I skimmed it. Skibidi dop dop dop, yes, yes. I don't know where you are, but please get down from there. It's a secret altar. Merci, ma termine. Merci, putain. Eh, je vais renvoyer une compile des Leon de Resident Evil 4. Vous allez comprendre pourquoi je peux pas le lire autrement, en fait. C'est impossible, genre. Je suis désolé. That's a secret altar. Alors, en fait, elle a dit que ça se prononçait Leon, comme Léon, quoi. Donc, bon. Snapping out of a daze, Leon told the girl to get down off the altar, but she ignored this completely. On top of that, Will kept on talking to the girl as though Leon wasn't even there. I heard this is Leon! J'en peux plus non plus. Who is that exactly? Ça peut être un running gag extrêmement marquant, je pense, positivement comme négativement. You've already heard who? Ushurmiya Leon! There's no case of a person with that name appearing in any of the previous games. Is this your piece? No. It's a true and proper piece of this game board. A character appearing in the story. You're the game master, that means it's your piece. I've just moved from Beato's cat box into a larger cat box. Leon is one of the pieces who had the possibility of appearing inside it. Genre dans un monde où Natsui l'a pas violemment poussé de la falaise, peut-être. I see. In other words, it's your piece. It's a piece of place, would be the correct way to say it. You're saying this piece isn't your subordinate like Erika? Erika? Who's that? La merde, hein. Ouh. En vrai, ça va faire du bien de pas l'avoir. Je vous le dis, ça va vraiment faire du bien de pas l'avoir. 2 chapitres, beaucoup trop. Erika-san? Don't try to understand. You'll just get a headache. Leon! Didn't have a clue what they were talking about. However, I thought neither person was familiar. It seemed clear that the boss knew a lot about the Ushiromiya family. I don't know what you two are talking about. Anyway, you girl, please get down off the altar. As this as the successor of the Ushiromiya family headship. Even Leon was finally forced to speak in a raised voice to that girl, who continued to chat while casually standing on the altar. However, the girls ignored this completely. On the other end, Will did show a reaction. The successor is supposed to be Cross. My father Cross will be the acting head until I turn 20. Then I am to succeed the headship. First I've heard of this. Can you prove it? It seemed that even Leon was starting to get ticked off by now. That calm expression appeared to twitch slightly. Did the successor silver ring of the one-winged eagle? Is that proof enough for you? A silver ring? The golden head's ring had appeared several times, but I've never heard anything about a silver ring for the successor. I don't remember Cross or Jessica ever wearing one of those. I'm glad. For someone who just skimmed it, it seemed you read it pretty well. When a witch hands you a story, you never know when something absurd will pop up. Especially when it's a great witch from the Senate. What in the world are you two? Sorry, but I don't have a clue what you're talking about. If you've finished offering flowers for departure, please make your exit. It seems you two aren't worthy of our family hospitality. Leon finally ran out of patience. These were the strictest words that this gentle kid could unleash. However, Will and the girl seemed not to care at all. I didn't come here because I wanted to. You're wasting time, so let me move onwards. Right, try and beat this game. As a game master, Burn Castle, I invite you to join in. I refuse. Rohan Kishibe. Why? I'm retired now. Reasoning and mysteries aren't my business anymore. How do you intend to spend the rest of your life? Is wizard hunting right going to give up witch hunting? There's still fox hunting and clam hunting to look forward to. I didn't come here to discuss the rest of my life with you. So I came here to refuse? Daga Kotowaru. That your powers of deduction are truly a sight to behold. Then do as you will. Go wherever you please. That is, assuming that you can leave this place. So, what are the terms and payment? In truth, Will had resigned himself from the beginning. He knew that he was incapable of refusing an invitation from the great Lady Burn Castle. Who killed Beatrice? That's my game. In payment, I forgive you for your insolence and let you leave this chapel. I heard that boredom-eating witches just love being spoken to rudely. That's only for eyes who are tired of life after 1,000 years. I'm still plenty young, so I love thinking of horrible fates in which to trap rude men like you. So, who's my enemy? There is none. There's no one to stand in your way. I just want to sit back and watch you make your beautiful cake making this game. Dans cette game, Béatrice est morte, quoi. I've even found you an ally. That's why Leon is for. Eh? After hearing that name spoken out of the blue, Leon frowned once more. Apparently they were moving things along with Leon's knowledge or understanding, which the latter seemed to find truly irritating. Leon is a member of the Ushiromiya family, and should prove to be a useful ally, seeing as no one in the family knows you. I'm not sure what this is all about, but I can hardly be of assistance until I know what is going on here. There, see? With help like this, it'll be a piece of cake. Entertain me and my master without anything right. Oh, maybe a polytheater gore. Elle l'appelle OO, quoi. Featherine, genre. C'est un Pokémon ou c'est Lugia, genre? Oh, maybe a political chattergoer, but I might throw popcorn at you if I get bored, okay? Will scratched at his head with a displeased look on his face. Comment ça, il l'a pas? Comment ça, je l'ai pas? Qu'est-ce que je dois avoir, là? Qu'est-ce que je dois avoir, là? Pour moi, OO, c'est Aurora pour Feather in Aurora, genre. Non, c'est autre chose? OO. Oh, AU. Eh ben. Qu'est-ce que je suis censé avoir? Comment ça, c'est autre chose? Will scratches his head with a displeased look on his face. Ah bah ça dépend peut-être alors, parce que ouais, là j'ai rien du tout là. He wasn't at all interested in getting involved, but by now he realized that he couldn't disobey Berncastle's orders. Then he approached the casket and pointed at its rose-filled inside. Asked me to solve the case of Beatrice's murder, but Valentine's 20 rule, Rule 7. It is forbidden to have a crime without a corpse. It's a devil's proof. Maybe it just isn't inside the casket, unless you can prove that no corpse exists. This is mystery. Rule 1 is it forbidden to have a crime without all clue presented. Don't worry, everything is gathered here. Though there was no change to Will's unsatisfied expression, he seemed to have understood the general pattern of this place. The simple fact that a mere Inquisitor of Heresy had been summoned by an unambited, fickle, cruel Great Witch of the Senate means that he'd be treated as no more than a mere underling. All along he had possessed no way to refuse her. So who killed the owner of this empty coffin? I'll answer that question. However, you'll let me do things my way. As you like. Je comprends rien. Bah si je comprends, mais... First off, I need to make you understand the current situation. Yes, it will be extremely helpful at the moment. Leon's expression seemed nonplussed, angry and confused all at the same time. Over here. It'll be faster to see it for yourself. Wonderful. Please lead the way. Will signaled this with his chin for Leon to follow him and spin around. After snorting once in an unsatisfied manner, Leon followed him, as though resigned to see Will's little show. As she watched them leave the chapel, Berncastle sneered silently at them, a cold smile on her face. Miko of the Great Witch of Theatre going, drama and spectating, feathering something Aurora. And as the Witch of... C'est presque aussi long que Acerola qui se shot Orion Art Thunderblade. Je l'ai même pas dit dans le bon sens, je crois. As the Witch of Miracle, I, Berncastle, announced the start of this game. The tale's title is Requiem of the Golden Witch. In a tale fitting for Beato's funeral. Well, no, let's see just how you drag out of the guts. Wow. Ah, mais jusqu'au bout du jeu, je ferai Leon! Et c'est tout, hein. Je t'enverrai la vidéo après, le faux, tu verras. Tu verras ce que j'ai subi dans ma vie. Tu comprendras. Tu comprendras. She watched until the pair had left the chapel. Berncastle's form evaporated into the empty air just as she had arrived. All that remained was her unpleasant cackling. Outside it was still raining. When Canon saw the guest and the successor approaching the reception desk, he bowed deeply. Good work. You can take a break now, so would you mind leaving? Ah mais non, mais c'est Canon qui parle, je suis complètement con. Pourquoi Canon est là si Béatrice est décédée? Vas-y, je sais plus quoi dire là. Non mais c'est bon, en fait Béatrice c'est juste un altar. Un alter, genre. C'est pour ça. It's canon. Yes, as you wish. Khan bowed deeply, then disappeared. Don't you remember the names of all your servants? Our family has many young servants coming in and out, and they're usually replaced quite frequently. Oui, ça va, il y a que Shannon et Canon depuis la nuit des temps. Pas faire genre que... Well, now, what are you trying to explain to me? Who are you and what business do you have with this family? Of course, there's no need to convince me. Feel free to head on home if you want. There is no going home, not for me, not for anyone. Could you please give that a rest? Stop speaking and confusing riddles like that all the time. Even I have limits to my patience. If you don't want me to see you off, could I call Genji or Goda? Don't freak out. Look at this. Yes, I can see that. It's one of the memorial roses. Are you going to show me some kind of magic trick? Will took one of the flower offerings, then showed it to Leon! Pardon. I saw pointing out that there was no mechanism or tricks. Then he slowly lifted it upwards. Watch. Yes, I'm watching. Is a dove going to fly out of it? Or is it going to be flags and fireworks? Huh? Will threw the rose. Anyone would have expected it to fly in an arc and land in some puddle. It didn't, which was why Leon had been struck dumb. The rose thrown by Will certainly had flown in an arc. It should have sped on rapidly through the air. However, as soon as it passed out from the shade of the eaves and was about to reach the rain, it stopped right in midair. I thought the hair surrounding it had turned into syrup. That wasn't all. As it hung in midair, the rose's beautiful golden petals began to darken one after another. It became a black husk like burnt charcoal. And even after this happened, it remained suspended there in the air. What sort of trick is this? Ah, don't move. Leon! As moved closer to try and touch the remain of the rose, which still hung in the air, Will had roughly lunged away with his arm. It was as though he was telling Leon that leaving this place meant certain death. This chapel has been cut off from the fragment. We're currently locked in a concentrated loop of time. Oh. What do you mean by that? Explaining the pain, so I'll just give you the short version. Basically, unless we play along with that witch's game, no one can leave this place. What? Funeral is already over. I'm sure some people will want to return to the mansion or the guest house. We can't be locked up in here. If you've got a bond to pay, that witch is the one you're looking for. Being stuck in a place like this isn't any more pleasant for me. That girl's your friend, right? Make her stop all this weirdness. She's probably sitting in spectator seat with a bucket of popcorn about now. She won't come if we just call her. What on earth is going on? That short sentence described all Leon's feeling at that moment. However, Leon had seen the rose will through wither in an instant in the rainy darkness. Leon tried doing the same thing with another rose, but the effect was exactly the same. No one will want to use their own body to test this fearsome something that could make roses crumble instantly. There's only one way for us to be released from here. We have to play along with Berncastle's game. You mean the one about who killed Beatrice? That's why she's telling us to investigate. If you could fill me in, it'd go more quickly. That fickle witch will be completely satisfied. We'll be able to get rid of the two of us, and I have a date with Diana when I get back. Okay. If I keep her waiting too long, she'll start tearing up on the sofa again. Newspapers. Who killed Beatrice, you say? That's hardly something you should go burying into a funeral and asking the family about. Questioning the family is one of the basics of the mystery genre. Let's give up and accept it. I do know that Beatrice is the mistress of Kinzo, the family head. Ugh. You really are a strange person. How do you know so much about this family? Il y en a 8, Swiper. Je suis à l'avant-dernier. J'ai regardé Corée du Sud République Tchèque à 4h. Moi je vais bien me le mater. Je mettrai dans un Vox s'il y a des gens qui veulent venir voir. Et moi j'ai Bean, je fais un partage dans le VOC, donc si jamais ça t'intéresse. You are a strange person. How do you know so much about this family? Are you sure you have no connection with us? We knew this much about the Yoshiomiya family, because when Castle shall name all of the fragments so far. Je veux dire, mais je peux pas join. Bah, j'ai mis un VOC. Si! J'ai mis un VOC Coupe du Monde 2026 et c'est ouvert aux VIP. T'es VIP toi? Donc, si tu peux. Ouais, exactement, le faut que je coupe à 4 heures. Ah, comme ça, je te prends pas trop de ton. Je te prends pas trop de ton influx, tu pourras dormir, t'inquiète. J'aime bien les débuts de chapitre, faire des petites sessions comme ça, c'est... Le début, tu sais, c'est souvent, il y a plein d'infos d'un coup, et puis après, ça se relâche un peu. Donc 3-4 heures comme ça, c'est bien. Enfin, 3 heures, du coup, comme ça, c'est bien, et puis après, tu enchaînes, quoi. C'est pas ceci le VIP, c'est l'update Didi. Ah bah d'accord, bah écoute. Bah dommage, si tu peux pas venir. We knew this much about the Yoshiomiya family because Berncastle had shown him all of the fragments so far. Of course, he had no sort of connection with the Yoshiomiya family himself. The very plane of his existence was on a different level. However, Beatrice died a long time ago. According to Genji, she passed away before the mansion was completed, but the reason for her death is unclear. To be honest, this is the first I've heard about her being killed. Tell me about it. My name is Yoshiomiya Leon! Willard. Call me Will. For the first time, Will introduced himself. Their mutual introduction was finally complete, and Leon was finally able to talk with him on an even footing. However, Leon took a deep breath and looked up at the sky wearing a vague smile. Well, son? Call me Will. I call you Leon! Will, to be honest, even I don't know much about this person called Beatrice. I see. I guess it's called the game for a reason. If only Leon could have told him everything, revealing the truth without any effort from Will. Apparently things wouldn't be so easy after all. Will qui sort de nulle part. Everyone who enters the Yoshiomiya family knows the name and image of Beatrice. Not because of the massive portrait hanging in the entrance hall, isn't it? That portrait was first displayed in April of 1984. Seriously, who is that you know so much? Ah well, it's about time you stopped finding that odd. I'm sure you just start speaking in riddles again. Leon was the successor and lived in the head household. That made conversation with Kinzo an everyday occurrence. Because of this, Leon must have been used to chatting with people who were moody or hard to follow. With the understanding that getting stuck on the detail would be nothing but a waste of time, the conversation naturally fell into a pattern as though Leon and this man Will were longtime friends. Everyone knows Beatrice, and yet no one knows her. Kinzo's the only one who ever met her. The head seemed to be particularly cranky today. I'll introduce you to him when the chance presents itself, so I ask that you develop an appropriately discreet attitude, Will-san. That was quick. I thought you'd resist a bit more than that. I'm used to speaking with the family head. I've learned to accept most unreasonable situations and just go with the flow. Berncastle had set up a barrier cutting the chapel off from the rest of the world. Just for that, they would have to find out who killed Beatrice. For Leon, who had exactly experienced many of Kinzo's rantings, understanding this much was more than enough. Ils ont fait une extension des territoires autour de la chapelle, là. On va save un coup. Il y a même pas de Jessica, quoi. Ah si, elle est là. Yoshiomiya family members were relaxing here and there around the waiting room. C'est vrai que c'est UMINEKO, ouais. A light buffet-style meal had been set up, but it was a bit stale and not particularly appealing. Even so, those voracious kids seemed to find it intensely interesting. The cousin had set up camp around it with Mary at the center. The adult siblings had also formed a group in a different corner. Perhaps because of Kinzo's absence, everyone seemed to be a little more relaxed. Leon! Where did you go? And who is that? Mother, I wasn't certain in the existence of ours. Well, this is my mother, Natsuhi. No introduction needed. Just tell me what you have to say. Huh? Did you say something? No, I said nothing. This is Wilson. It's him is new, the deceased. With a smile, Leon casually smoothed over Will's words. He wants to know more about Beatrice. Do you know anything about her mother? Leon! The departed is an individual to whom the head owed a great debt. Nothing more, nothing less. This funeral is a ceremony for the head to repay his benefactor for all he received while that person still lived. That is what I have been told, and there is nothing more to it than that. Thanks, Mother. Well, that's all my mother knows. Natsui was eager to deny the scandal about Beatrice being Kinzo's mistress. However, she also had enough sense to realize that this scandal was probably true. Picking up that Natsui was in a bad mood and didn't want to talk about this anymore, Leon, pardon, oh, j'ai failli rater, brought an end to that conversation before Will could say something rude again. Well, this chapel belongs to the family. So you tell me to follow the family's rules? Speak in a manner appropriate for a guest of the family. Let me be the medium for all of your conversations. I say that you follow those 2 rules. I work on that. That mess this burnt castle witch or whatever has dragged us into is a real pain. Because of that, I'm willing to help you. But we're equal partners in this job, and you'd best not forget that. And here I thought you were just some well-bred rich boy. Seems you can speak up after all. I must be prepared to show that you Ushimiya family's future after all. Got it. Let's solve this crime together, Watson. I'm glad I can help. I wouldn't want to keep your dear cat Diana waiting. C'est easiest ship of my life, hein. Mais bon, ils sont pas du même monde. Eh, vous avez compris, ils sont pas du même monde. C'est pas... Normalement, on dit ça quand c'est une question d'argent et tout. Ça marche. Mais en fait, c'est pas du même monde. C'est littéral, quoi. Vous avez compris la vanne ou pas? Elle est bien, hein. Par contre, Matermin, il a dit qu'il ferait des blagues dans le chapitre et tout, et je vois pas où elles sont. I wouldn't want to keep your dear cat Diana waiting. Won't she need to be fed soon? I gave her extra food today, so she should be good for a while. I'm surprised you realized Diana was a cat. I figure it'd be just a bit too eccentric for her to be a human woman who scratches at sofas when you keep her waiting. So, who will you take to talk to first? Anyone? Everyone? Those ones over there are cross siblings, right? From right to left there's Aunt Eva, Uncle Hideyoshi. Over there is Uncle Rudolph, Aunt Kairi. And over there is... Roulement de tambour. Ushirmiya Rosa. Ah. When she was a girl, she once got lost in the forest and bumped into a woman calling herself Beatrice in the hidden mansion. I know I shouldn't be surprised anymore, but you already knew everything, don't you? So you know about that story too? I managed to overhear her saying that today. It looked as though it was bothering her, so I pretended not to hear. Real model student you are. Introduce me. I want to ask about it. You're asking this of the model student who pretended not to hear because it just might be a painful topic. Leoninos Botinos, alors là je l'ai pour le coup. Alors là je l'ai. C'est dommage qu'on n'ait pas Anekawa dans UMINEKO. C'est qui la personne la plus Anekawa de la famille en termes de... On s'est compris quoi. Shannon en vrai. Je dois faire une vérification, je m'excuse. Ou Natsui aussi. Attends. Ah, Lyon, c'est la planche. Mec horrible. Bah, Tsui, comment tu peux avoir une mère? C'est vraiment la fille adoptée pour le coup. Théorie d'Ebzèze. C'est vraiment la fille adoptée il y a 19 ans. Parce que Natsui, immense. Jessica, immense. Elle, que dalle. Voilà. Et il faut prendre des théories. Et bah, c'est pas mal dans le genre aussi. La famille est quand même plutôt Rosa bof. Enfin, surtout sur les nouveaux sprites en fait. Mais bon. Shannon, c'est n'importe quoi. Enfin, Shannon. Canon aussi. J'avoue que Kairi, c'est quand même quelque chose. Bon, enfin bon. Et il est pas mal son nouveau sprite à Will. Willard. J'ai cliqué sur Maria. Ah non. Je ne suis pas toi. Je ne suis pas toi, le fou. Je n'allais pas faire ça. On peut quand même aller vérifier par acquis de conscience, mais bon. Hop là. Ah, je te rends compte que si Shannon est canon, alors ils sont faux. Bah... Ça fait mal, ça. Alors que Burn... Bah, attends. Bof, hein. Béatrice... parfait. Virgilia... Bon. Ouais. On n'a pas regardé Nanjo, mais... Nanjo, on le voit plus, d'ailleurs. Je clique sur Nanjo au pif, mais on... Les 3 chapitres, on n'a pas eu un dialogue avec lui, je crois, donc... Faut nous dire si on a voulu l'enlever du cast, ou... Even this outrageous arrogance is nothing compared to Kinza. After muttering this several times mentally, Leon shrugged and nodded at Will. Oh, it's our successor, Sama. And who is this? Oh, Aunt Eva. This is Will's son. He came to offer flowers to the departed. But who cares about that? Tell me everything you... J'ai pas vu. Everything you know about... He says he wants to know what sort of relationship the Shumra family had with the deceased. Leon spoke with a bright smile after pinching Will's butt. Et ça va le easiest chip of my life, là. Ils se connaissent depuis 37 ans, quoi. Will silently protested, I saw that coming, but damn that hurt. But Leon just played dumb and smiled at Eva like a model student. Well, even if you say relationship with the Uchiura family, it probably makes more sense to say her relationship with father. No need to beat around the bush. She was father's mistress. If you call her that, that's when Nissan will yell at you again. He's indebted to her, right? Yep, that's right. Well, there you have it. I have no interest in anyone but Rosa. I do believe that you said you met with Beatrice, Aunt Rosa. This whole time, Rosa had been hanging her head. Oh, la petite harpe. Ring. This whole time, Rosa had been hanging her head. Leon's word made her shoulder quiver. He just suddenly came out with it today. It's a bit hard to believe. It's the truth. I killed Beatrice. Perfect, our work here is finished. Don't get tired of yourself. Rosa broke down crying and laid her head on the table. Harry and Hideyoshi tried to console her. Rokenjima is covered by a dense forest. We only know about one tiny portion of it. Just the mention there was garden and the little path that leads to the harbor. Oui, Inquisition menée de main de maître. For years there's been stories about how Dad built a hidden mansion somewhere in the vast forest that no one knew about, and that he had a mistress living there. Rosa-san probably stumbled on the hidden mansion by chance. Or what does it have to do with Aunt Rosa killing Beatrice? If I hadn't taken her out with me, she never would have died. She was so innocent, like a chick. I took her out and she just followed along obediently. Un peu comme la Béatrice du chapitre 6 de la Renaissance, quoi. She stayed right behind me, trusting me completely, and because I made her take such a dangerous path. Did you make her walk that way because you were hoping she'd slip and fall from the cliff? I never meant to do that. I just thought she'd like to see the ocean. No, it just looked like the path would be hard to walk, and I saw it would be easier going if you went down the cliff first. That's not what it meant to kill someone. It was an accident. An accident she never would have had if I hadn't brought her with me, right? It's my fault. And then I abandoned her when she was covered in blood and ran home. Rosa... Rosa, bon... Qui est étonné? Après, au moins, elles se sentent coupables. C'est déjà bien. It isn't your fault. Beatrice had never seen the ocean before. You showed her that for the first time ever. She was probably so excited that she just happened to take a bad step. How can you know that? Beatrice might thank you for what you did, but she will never hate you. Non mais Rosa, malheureusement, on n'aura jamais... ce problème sera jamais réglé d'ici la fin, quoi. De toute façon, en fait, le vrai problème maintenant, c'est que c'est dramatique. On essaye de pas trop y penser. Mais le vrai problème, c'est que il n'y a pas d'échappatoire et que tout le monde est mort en 86 et que il y aura jamais d'échappatoire. Ça, j'essaye de pas trop y penser parce que c'est trop triste. Mais tout le monde est finitex en fait. Depuis bien longtemps d'ailleurs. Malheureusement. Je pense qu'à chaque fois les 4 et 5 octobre, tous les 4 et 5 octobre, j'aurai une pensée, tu vois. J'aurai un regard vers le ciel pour la famille Ushiromiya. Really? Is that really true? Moi, je pense que tous les 4-5 octobre, on se met tous dans un VOC et on écoute de la musique du jeu et on discute du jeu, genre. Tous les 4-5 octobre. Voilà. On fait une petite partie tous les 4 et 5 octobre, ou juste un des deux. Tous les 4 octobre, on fait une petite partie. On discute du jeu en écoutant des musiques du jeu. D'à quel point c'était bien, des moments incroyables. D'à quel point Rosa est une mère indigne. Tous les 4 octobre, jusqu'à la fin de nos vies, on se retrouve et on parle du jeu. Avec des trucs cool, ouais. Et moi je pense que à terme, si moi j'arrive... En fait, faut faire une chaîne. Moi j'ai réussi à convaincre Kebab d'y jouer à peu près. Donc il y jouera après Higurashi, je pense. En fait, le faux m'y a fait jouer, moi je vais y faire jouer à Kebab, Kebab va y faire jouer à quelqu'un. Et voilà, il faut que ça fasse full domino et que dans le serve on soit 15 dans un VOC le 4 octobre, tu vois. C'est ça le plan. Vivement la trad FR, d'ailleurs. Ils avancent bien, hein, la trad FR. Vivement la trad FR complète, parce que... Enfin, je parle pas de moi de la trad que j'ai eu des 3 chapitres, parce que le mec a jamais continué, mais Rokenjima.fr, là, ils avancent vraiment pas mal. Donc... Si ça peut faire découvrir le jeu à de plus amples personnes, ça serait pas plus mal, quoi. C'est Kali, ils sont... Tu regardes la team de trad, c'est des gens... Bah, c'est les mêmes qu'on... C'est les mêmes qu'on fait Inamizawa.fr, là. C'est la même team de trad, genre. C'est la même trad que Higurashi, quoi, en gros. Tu regardes sur le site, il y a un lien vers Inamizawa.fr et c'est la même team de trad, genre. Et on m'a déjà dit que la trad de Higurashi était Kali, donc j'ai pas trop de doutes, quoi. Déjà que le mec qui a fait tout seul les 3 premiers chaps, là, la trad était très bien, déjà. Et ils sont au moins 10 dessus, là. Dans la team de trad, j'ai regardé, ils sont une dizaine. Donc ça va vite quand même, et à mon avis, c'est pas mal quali, ouais. Ils ont déjà 2 chapitres de terminés. Et la plupart, ils avancent un peu au compte-gouttes, quoi. Mais en vrai, je pense dans quelques mois, ils auront fini maximum. À mon avis, hein. D'ailleurs, le faux... alors moi, j'aurais pas la prétention d'aller aider à faire la trad, parce que je peux traduire toutes les phrases dans ma tête, et je peux faire du français-anglais, anglais-français à peu près correctement. Mais j'aurais pas la prétention de pouvoir faire une trad quali. Mais toi, je pense que tu pourrais limite aider à la trad. Je pense. Je sais pas s'ils font depuis le Jap ou depuis l'anglais en fait. Faudrait voir. Je sais que le premier qui faisait les 3 premiers chapitres là, c'était depuis l'anglais, je crois. Ouais, checker. Ouais, c'est vrai que les double trad, c'est jamais excellent. Mais je crois qu'Higurashi l'ont fait depuis le Jap. Donc il y a un monde où là aussi c'est depuis le Jap, je pense. Je sais pas trop. Mais je crois qu'Higurashi c'est depuis le Jap, donc il y a un monde. He's the one who begged to see the world outside the fence, right? Il se passe quoi si tu fais genre 10 trades, une trad, jusqu'à 10 trades? Je pense que tu perds tout le sens de tout, genre. It was only for a short while you made that dream of yours come true. However, Beatrice said thank you for a short bit of time. If she knew that you've been suffering all this time for it, she'd probably feel sorry for you. Beatrice is grateful for what you did. You're the one who told her that the sea is blue. Is that true? I guarantee it. Will made that statement openly and boldly. It wasn't clear how Rosa took those words. However, it had apparently been enough to remind Rosa to take a handkerchief out of her pocket and wipe her eyes with it. Thank you. Those are the words Beatrice is whispering to you even now. Thank you. Rosa wiped her eyes with the handkerchief one more time and hung her head. It no longer looked like a fit of sobbing, but more I thought she was speaking with the Beatrice of that day within her heart. One last time. You have no problem making claims you could never back up, don't you? Back up? Is that really necessary to comfort a woman? Oula. You may underestimate you. For many years did it torment Rosa. Now finally she will probably be able to face that innocently smiling Beatrice who had seen the ocean for the first time in her life. He was the only one who could forgive Rosa. Now the two of them could finally speak together. I don't know who you are, but thank you. I wonder if she'll forgive me. You've worried about it for nearly 20 years. That's far too long. She'd tell you that you've suffered more than enough already. That's right, Aunt Rosa. The sadder you are, the sadder Beatrice will be. You too, thank you. I don't know if I'll be forgiven, but I keep on speaking to my heart to see whether she'll forgive me or not. Thanks, you too. Sorry for showing you such an embarrassing side of me. And I'm sorry to say this right after saying something so pretty, but I want you to talk to me. Tell me what happened back then. No, son. Thanks, but it's fine. I'll talk. Hiding this and keeping quiet about it for so long might have been my greatest sin. Exactly when was it that you met Beatrice? Upon hearing this question, Rosa closed her eyes lightly, reaching back to a past she didn't want to remember. It was about 20 years ago. 20 or wait, it might have been 19 or 18 years ago. I'm sorry, I've tried to force myself to forget it for so long that I've nearly forgotten that part completely. It should have been 1967. Ronovat guaranteed that was the red truth in the third game. That's right, it was probably about 1967. I can remember what happened as clearly as a picture. I'll never forget. If it's tough for you, don't feel like you have to tell us. Bah, on a déjà eu l'info en fait, on n'a pas besoin de la revoir là. Les gars, c'est answer arc ou répétition arc en fait? Je comprends pas là. Vous l'avez ou pas? Répétition demandée. Allez, c'est bon, j'arrête. Yes, clear as a picture if you don't mind. No. Damn it, that hurts. Leon! What does? Et Leon, elle est trop marrante. Elle me fait rire, en fait. Voilà. At the time, I was in a state of shock. Le fait qu'elle pince le cul d'un mec qu'elle connaît pas, c'est pas drôle. I was in a state of shock since my teacher told mother about something that was supposed to be a secret. On that day, I became reckless and kept on running deeper and deeper into the forest. This tale has also been told in a previous fragment. Back when Rosa was just a kid, she went deep into the forest, found a hidden mansion, and met with a mysterious woman who called herself Beatrice. But that forest is so thick, even pushing your way through a bit of it's hard, right? I even surprised myself. To think that I made it so far into such a dense forest. I was tormented by twigs and sharp leaves over and over again. However, that wasn't enough to bother me on that day. After all, I wanted to disappear into the forest and vanish forever. If by some chance there really was a witch mentioned in the depths of the forest, I hoped that she might take me to some paradise or else turn me into a frog and make me a resident of the forest. So you then reached the hidden mansion, Curadorian, and met a woman who called herself Beatrice. Yes, I met her. Was that Beatrice the same as the one in the portrait? Yes, they were the same person. Beautiful blue eyes. Golden hair. A blank dress. It really was the person in that portrait. When father first had it hung, I realized that the 20 years I'd spent trying to forget must have seemed just as long to father, if not even longer, and I became even more fearful of my sin. Stop there. Are we sure it is the same Beatrice that Rhoda-san met? Immediately, Carrie spoke the question that Will had been thinking of. It would be too rash to assume that the Beatrice Kinzo met and the one Rosa met were the same person. The time and generation didn't match up. Beatrice is supposed to be that lady of leisure who landed all that gold shortly after the war, right? By using Beatrice's gold as a foundation, father revived the Ushirmaya family and got super rich. Then he bought Rokkenjima and moved over. Rosa-san meeting her might have been at least 10 years after that. A woman who could do as she pleased with 10 tons of gold could hardly be some little girl. And 10 more years passed before she met Rosa. Rosa, about how old did the Beatrice you met look? She looked older than I was at the time, but even so it looked as though she might just been reaching adulthood. Yes, just the sort of age the Beatrice in the portrait. Did she look middle-aged or past her prime? If I had to call her an adult or a child, she was clearly closer to being a child. There's no way she was middle-aged. And isn't that strange? You have the Beatrice you met and the Beatrice who gave father the gold, but their age don't match. In other words, they're different people. Bah, on savait déjà ça. Different people who looks very similar and have the same name. It might have been her daughter. A kid will obviously end up looking like her mother. His mistress' daughter. Is it possible? It is possible. Perhaps father had an illegitimate child with the Beatrice who gave him the gold. And then Rosa bumped into Beatrice the second. Bah, on sait que Kinzo l'a créé, la Béatrice qui était à Curadorian. En mode homunculus, quoi. Je demande juste un truc à Titi. And then Rosa bumped into Beatrice the second. That way the age fit just fine. I see, in other words, there are two people who can be called Beatrice. Kinzo secretly raised the mistress child in a hidden mansion. It made sense. Everyone nodded, agreeing. However, Will's expression was slightly unsatisfied and he scratched at his head. So it will seem that this funeral exists for the two Beatrices who couldn't mourn because they were kept secret. Rosa, I know you probably don't want to remember, but tell me about that accident. After Beatrice fell, was she still breathing? No, her eyes were open wide. She fell upside down head first and knocked her head against a sharp crag on the rocky beach. And she fell from such a height. Her skull had split and caved inwards. That beautiful golden hair was stained red with blood almost instantly. Was it the sort of wound that clearly showed that she was dead? Yes, I saw the inside of her cracked head. It had caved in deep enough to fit your fist inside it. No one could be naive enough to see that and still hope that she was alive. Et si elle l'était? No. Will, do you really need to ask anything more? That's enough for the time of the accident. What did you do afterwards? I dashed away at full speed. I can't say I was thinking about calling for help. I wanted to escape from that place as fast as I could. Half crazed, sobbing and out of breath, I kept on running about at random. Mais on l'a déjà su, ça. Pourquoi on nous le redit? En fait, ça m'intrigue qu'on nous le redise. Eventually, I came across a familiar Leon! Non, ça marche pas du coup. Lion statue. Oh, the one in front of the chapel. Not the one behind it. Anyway, I made it back to the mansion. I couldn't tell anyone and I didn't want to. I stayed quiet until nightfall. It was so horrible of me. If I had hurried and told someone, they might have brought a first aid kit and she might have been saved. Who is a first aid kit going to help with a crushed cranium? He didn't kill her. Don't worry about that anymore. Then what did you do next? That night I turned over in my bed so many times. I couldn't sleep. Late that night I quietly called Genji-san on the phone and told him. What did he say? C'est le plus grand des statues de Léon! What did he say? Told me to let him handle everything and to speak to this to no one. I spent the next several days terrified that father would call for me and scold me brutally. But he didn't. Kenji-san kept on doing this job quietly, just like normal. Father stayed locked up in his studio not knowing any of it. At the very least, none of us ever heard about it. Kenji-san probably managed to clean everything up nicely. After all, they couldn't let knowledge of the child go public. Even if she was an illegitimate child, she was still his daughter by blood. It must have been tough for father not being able to hold a real funeral for her. I suppose that's why we're having this funeral. And then? That's all I know. And that's all I know too. I'm not hiding anything else. I've told you everything. I swear it. Will scratched at his head, letting his gaze wander. It had taken Rosa a lot of determination to make this confession, but it was nothing particularly special for Will. It had apparently been little more than a review of the information he already knew. Thanks, Aunt Rosa. Is that enough for you, Will? Are you satisfied? That's enough. It was a nice review. To Will, Rosa's memory gave an information that was already known. It was the first time he'd heard all that about her running back to the mansion after Beatrice fell to her death, but none of this was particularly surprising. Apparently, Rosa didn't know any more than this. If he wanted to learn more than what she was in the fragment Brocknostel gave him, he would need to find new testimony. Leon! Tell Kinzo that I want to talk to him. It looks like we won't get anywhere without asking the man himself. Where are you going? I have to calm my head and organize my thought. Don't follow. Well then, pardon me. Please take your time. After giving an elegant bow, Leon made a face, tongue sticking out. Unless Will had eyes on the back of his head, he couldn't have seen this last bit. Elle est marrante, Leon. Leon, je l'aime bien. Will, on sait pas trop... Enfin, si, c'est Burn qui veut s'amuser avec lui, mais pourquoi lui et... Peut-être elle a pris le premier book qui venait depuis les Heavens. Will returned to the chapel by himself. The cold air and the monotonous sound of the rain were comforting. So how's the game going? And he had come here for a little peace and quiet. As soon as he let out a sigh of relief, that voice rang out. That's my line. It was as though she had been sitting there all along. Berncastel appeared on top of the altar once more. Beatrice's altar must have been extremely comfortable. Butler annoyed me over and over with his incompetence. You're quite competent compared to him, so it's much more relaxing to watch your work. Unlike Oshomi Butler's games, I have nothing standing in my way. Après, elle parle d'incompétence, mais n'a-t-elle pas perdu? Hein? Enfin, pas elle, mais Erika. It's easy. What sort of game has already ended? Tasks can be enjoyed twice. First you love them, then you cheer out the guts. Just so I'm a butcher now. So, don't you think you figure out who killed Beatrice? Rada's confession is something I already know from a previous fragment. There was no brand new information. Est-ce que c'est normal si je suis du père? J'imagine que oui. Le faux, est-ce que à ce moment-là, tu t'étais en mode... Bon, on avance et on voit parce que là, je sais pas pourquoi c'est là... what is happening, genre. J'espère que oui. Merci. Bon, ça va, je suis pas le seul. Parce que là, je suis... Ok. Bon, bah, ça va, alors. Je suis content. We're still at square one. Unless Shomi Kinzo tells us what really happened, we won't get any further than this. Don't tell me that arguing with Kinzo and persuading him to spill the beans is supposed to be a part of this game. That'd be fatally boring. Kinzo refuses to speak of the truth and is himself the king protected by his castle, but it wouldn't be any fun to have that stand in the way of your game. I won't torture, it's not my style. I know. As a game master, I will grant you power, so that you can get the truth from Kinzo, of course. The wearing shoes, Ben Castle stamped into the casket, picked up one of the flowers that had been set as offerings, and blew hard at those scattering fluff from a dandelion. Then a single petal broke off and drifted down towards Will, no longer gold but with the shine of a transparent crystal. The detective authority? What that pathetic ability? That pathetic ability? No, this is an invitation to the grandstands. Elle a pas aimé le fait que Erika se soit faite mélanger. Hein. Theater Going's authority? That's supposed to be forbidden without authorization from the Senate. I'm the one giving it on my game board. Who's going to stop me? Huh. Though the crystal flower petal danced in the wind, it wouldn't fly away until Will accepted it. Remember how useless it was to argue with witches and snatch it up. When you did, the petal flashed brightly for an instant, melted into Will's palm and disappeared. Entertain me if you can, and try and enjoy yourself. You must also be interested in seeing what the guts of Beatrice's game board look like, right? Not really. After Will's rude answer, Castle vanished into thin air, leaving behind an obnoxious laugh. Cheh. After clicking his tongue, Will turned around unhappily. When he did, it felt as though his gaze had crossed that of Shadow standing right in front of him, near the door that led outside. Who is it? Ah, pardon me. I heard a voice, so I wondered who it was. Ah, Shannon. So you're running the reception desk this time? Yes, I've been taking in turns with Shannon going to run the reception desk. Oh, bon, alors là, on va pas me la faire à moi, je pense, hein. Bon, ça se confirme de plus en plus. Bon, là, je pense que emballer, c'est peser, hein. Oui. Chacun son tour, hein. Est-ce que vous imaginez, genre, fermez les yeux et imaginez Doppio et Diavolo à la réception d'un truc, en train de juste donner des fleurs, à tour de rôle, genre. Parce que c'est exactement ça qui est en train de se passer. La cocasse coïncidence, bien sûr. And Cannon? Short while ago, it was ordered by... Oui, d'accord. Leon! Sam had to take a break, so he's resting now. So you don't know Leon either? Huh? No, that's not... Show me Leon is the successor, the one who wears the silver ring. Why are you stumbling over that name when you've worked at it for 10 years? That's... Don't worry, I don't recognize Leon either. Rose is supposed to be the successor. Jessica is supposed to be his only child. There hasn't been a single fragment with anyone named Leon in the Ushirmia family. When she realized that Will didn't recognize Leon either, Shannon relaxed. Apparently she was a bit relieved to find that she wasn't going crazy by herself. However, her expression quickly grew uncertain once more. Where is this place? I think it's the Ushirmia family chapel. However, something felt different about it. Also, I never knew that someone named Leon Samas existed. And yet Madame Cross Sama, the master, my lady, and all the relatives all told us so it's perfectly natural. I just don't understand what's happening. Leon is a piece placed by Castle. She also said that in order to place that piece, she switched over to a larger cat box. On top of that, it seems this world isn't a proper world, but one made out of several different fragments sewn together. It's us, so this is a special stage set up specifically for this game. I'm sure she's nodding at my thought right now, lotting and chomping down popcorn. How long have you worked here in this world? 10 years. I see. That really is a special stage. After all, right when I entered the chapel, I spotted Kinzo. Since Shannon has been working here for 10 years, this world took place in 1986, the stage of Beato's game. In that case, Kinzo shouldn't exist. However, he definitely was here a few minutes ago. Castle promised that all the information needed for reasoning was gathered here. He must have really packed it together to fit everything in. I see, so it really is a special stage. You've served the Ushura family for many years. So just how much do you know about Beatrice? Will, tu poses la question à la bonne personne, je pense. Va, creuse un peu avec, je pense. Il y a peut-être des choses à apprendre là. I know the master loved her deeply, but other than that... Is that all? And, they said that she's the master of Rokenjima's night. Pas très suspecte les réactions, vraiment très gênées là. That's right. The name of the ghost removed to Wonder Dimension Night. After night is also Beatrice. That brings the number of Beatrice to 3. The first is a Beatrice from more than 30 years ago who is said to have given Kinzo the gold. The second is the Beatrice from 20 years ago who met Rosa. The third is the Beatrice of the ghost stories who is rumored to be the master of the night on Rokenjima. Reader Erika's reasoning was probably correct. It started out as a legend of evil spirits on Rokenjima. Later on, elements such as Kinzo's occult hobbies, the name and portrait of the mysterious woman, Beatrice, and the epitaph got mixed in, and it was all integrated into the legend of the Golden Witch. Then the darkness of the night gained the personality of a witch, like the third Beatrice. This became the veil for the serial murders. Apparently she didn't understand the world of Will's sudden monologue. Helen tried to follow along, but she seemed to be having difficulty. Don't waste your time trying to understand. You'll just get a headache. My apologies. Canon doesn't know Leon either, right? Yes, Canon-kun was the same as me. En fait, c'est pratique. C'est pratique, même dans le phrasé et tout. Pratique, quoi. En vrai. Bientôt, ils vont nous filer un livre pour enfants avec un gros égal entre les deux, je pense. Shannon and Canon, is it? Call Canon over here. C'est là qu'on va voir. I want to talk to the pair of you about something. When Will said these words, Shannon's face went blank and her eyes went wide. Tu m'étonnes. Apologies, we aren't allowed to leave the reception desk unmanned, so I can't leave to go get him. Then find a replacement and have them take over the reception desk until you get back. You, me, and Canon. We, the 3 people who don't know Leon, need to talk. We've been told that one person is enough to run the reception desk. But no one told you there was anything wrong with 2 people manning it, right? We're low on helpers today, so... Les excuses de merde. Non mais la théorie est confirmée à 1800% là. Est-ce qu'il y a des gens qui l'avaient pas encore à ce moment-là, peut-être? Peut-être, hein. Mais là, bon, c'est clair comme de l'eau de roche, là. So I told that having 2 people at the reception desk would be unnecessary. Who gave you that order? Kinzo? Cross? Or was it Leon? I will check with them. It was the one who orders me. I cannot disobey order... Huh? Who is this person? I'll negotiate with them. You cannot... On dirait de la Nord. Negotiate? Cold cannon over here. I hate theater going just as much as I hate torture. Slowly, Will pulled his right hand out of his pocket. When he slowly opened his fist, a small bright glow emanated from it. The flower petal given to him by Berncastle had become a glowing, sparkling mark on his hand. He held an arrow towards Shannon and slowly approached her. Cold cannon, I want to check something with you two. Oh, les yeux noirs, hein. Les yeux vides. I cannot call him. Do you still want me to? If you don't call him, I'm going to use my authority. If you insist, I can call him specially for you, but... C'est là qu'on a la reveal en fait. La vraie reveal. There was some kind of incomprehensible tension between the two. Will stood there, his left hand still in his pocket and his right palm glowing and stretched out towards her. Helen just stood there, her hands still folded in front of her, her posture beautiful, and yet it felt oddly as a wind-swept drop of rain were sparkling and crackling in midair. I will go Canon-kun. Are you absolutely certain? Ça devient... C'est du body horror là. Will's expression had remained unchanged the whole time. Shannon's face was still kind and gentle, and yet the tension was as icy as a frozen lake. Beginners in chess will sometimes move their king into check without noticing it. One might mercilessly capture the king in this situation, but high-level players are supposed to calmly tell their opponents about their mistakes. If you take one more step, you'll get captured. This was similar to that. I see. So after all... I get it. That's enough. Eh oui, je l'ai eu avant toi, moi. Je l'ai eu avant toi. Pas la peine de le dire. T'es pas un très bon enquêteur. Tout le monde l'avait avant toi, mec. Boring. You guys can take in turns around the reception desk. C'est vrai qu'il a spawn il y a 1 heure. Après, il a eu tous les fragments aussi. Hein. Comme nous. Finalement. Donc... Around the reception desk. Slowly, Will lowered his hand. Thank you for understanding. The glow slowly vanished from Will's palm. That completely incomprehensible tension melted away like a sugar cube in water. However, nothing had changed since the beginning. Will's expression and Shannon's expression were the same as they always had been. How are you living? Footstep approached them. It was Leon! Just having a casual conversation. I wanted to ask her something. What could that be? Did you find what you were looking for? Yeah. I wanted to have been of service. A shame. You were looking for an umbrella I could gotten you in right away. You convinced Kinzo? I told him that Aurelius wanted to greet him. He said he'll meet with you. You tell him that I wanted to ask you about Beatrice? Isn't that your job? With a slightly mischievous look, Leon Pardon, turned away. Will scratched his head and shrugged, looking annoyed. Oh well, guess I'll get a chance to try this out at least. Will opened his right hand and showed it to Leon. To Leon! Leon! It was just a hand, without anything remotely remarkable about it. Leon's head tilted to the side in bafflement at this strange gesture. Good work. Wait, your name was... It's Shannon. That's right, Shannon. Please take over at the reception desk. And make sure you keep warm. Thank you very much. Leon-sama. Helen bowed deeply in response to Leon's kind words. There was not even a trace of tension in her manner. Let's go, Will. You don't want to miss this chance. Your head's much clearer than the autumn sky. Good luck. Here we go. Ce sera cool qu'on soit Rokenjima dans ce game board là, mais pas dans le manoir, ni dans le guest house, genre on est dans la chapelle et tout. C'est des pièces qu'on n'a jamais vues. C'est cool en vrai. I've brought Willard son. Kinzo and Genji could be seen in the VIP room. Kinzo was sitting back in the chair, his eyes closed as though in troubled sleep. Master, the guest has come to see you. No. Kinzo slowly opened his eyes. Those eyes were red from crying. They regained their focus and slowly fell on Will. I am Ushiromiya Kinzo. Will? I'm Willard. Allow me to express my condolences. So you came here to attend Beatrice's funeral? Yes, who are you? I'm no one, I have no connections with anyone. Don't think too deeply about it. You'll just get a headache. Oh. I said that you choose your words a little more carefully. What a strange guest. So, what business do you have with me? I want to ask you about Beatrice. What? Kinzo's gaze grew sharp. Leon felt a bit lightened and wondered why this guy had to be so direct. Why did you ask? You're no one, aren't you? Why do you want to know about Beatrice? What is your purpose? Because I'm no one, I can listen to your tale partially and record it. You'll probably leave this world before too long. Today, without telling anyone anything about Beatrice, the children will adorn Beatrice with whatever tale they please, writing that into their memories. You're dirting me, boy. Do you plan on writing my will for me? But that is none of your business. Beatrice is mine alone. No matter what other people say, no one can defy our tale. What they say is of no consequence. No matter how cross and the others misconstrue it, it will be neither painful nor vexing to me. Will at Sama. The master is not fond of wills. He is not the sort of man who will abandon a task so that it might be performed at very left hand. Probably true. I thought it sounded a bit unlike you. The ability to struggle, and as long as we have life, you got to make us human. You think I will give up so soon and leave behind a will? Colossally absurd. Yes, it does sound a bit more like you. It's not your style to ask someone to write about the past just because you think your death is drawing near. You know how deeply you love Beatrice, Sama. You are the model and most worthy of respect that any of us know, and an example for us to follow in every aspect of our lives. This guide our wandering selves and tell us just how much you loved your grandfather. How you were able to live through everything you faced because of a love. I only ask for you to guide us by showing us that love's strengths. You're pretty good at this. It's your fault for being so tactless. Boy, what do you know of Beatrice? A truly ignorant person will never be interested in learning more. The mere fact that you know Beatrice's name shows that you are neither ignorant nor unconnected. Good point. And the Beatrice I know of is the woman you loved, the one you met before the mansion on Rokenjima was even built. However, she probably departed from this world, leaving behind a daughter, and that's the girl who was raised in Kuwadorian. Oh, oh. Willard-sama, there is no building known as Kuwadorian on Rokenjima. That name, Kuwadorian, you mentioned it when we were talking with Aunt Rosa too. What in the world does it mean? You should have an idea by now. It's the name of the hidden mansion deep in the forest when his mistress' daughter lived. Interesting. So you actually know the name of Kuwadorian. Continue, you have sparked my interest. Kinzo shrugged and grinned. The one living in Kuwadorian was probably Beatrice's daughter. However, it seems that you at least didn't think of her that way. Oh. And how did I think of her? When Ushiromiya Rosa went to Kuwadorian, Beatrice told her a little about herself. In the conversation, she referred to you as Kinzo. It was the same where she spoke to you directly. So she said that she thought of you as a father. She didn't call you father. She either chose not to call you that, or she wasn't allowed to call you that. It can only mean one thing. And what might that be? Reincarnation. You don't think of your daughter as a child Beatrice left behind. We believe that the dead Beatrice had revived into a new body. Genji, once in the past you spoke in front of Natsu and several other family members, stating that there never was a child between Kinzo and Beatrice. I have no memory of saying this. Of course, this game's Genji probably will not remember that. C'est quand même très marrant que là, sur tous les invités, il n'y ait que Shannon Cannon. Comment je pourrais l'appeler? Shannon. qui se rend compte que Leon n'existe pas en fait. Les autres sont parfaitement crédules comme n'importe quel autre game ou tale quoi. Ma foi. However, near the end of the third game, when the survivor had all gathered in Kinzo's studio, Genji was asked whether Kinzo and Beatrice ever had a child together, and he denied it, saying, "I have never heard of anything like that." It may have been a lie, but in a way it was a model answer for one of Kinzo's confidence. After all, in Kinzo's eyes, she wasn't a daughter, but Beatrice reborn. Will, I don't know what you're talking about, but I will not let you slander the family hat. It isn't slander, it's reasoning. However, I understand your heart. In your eyes, Beatrice was the woman you loved most. She remained that way even after death for all eternity, and without fading in the slightest. I hope you thought of her as Beatrice reborn at the moment of her birth. However, it wouldn't be strange if you slowly began to wonder whether that child, whose blue eyes and beautiful blonde hair reminded you of a younger Beatrice, might actually be Beatrice reborn. Master. Shall I drag this rude child out? Genji asked Kinzo. For a while, Kinzo hung his head in silence, as though remembering something from his own past. Your daughter grew to be beautiful and nearly identical to her mother. You must have been ecstatic. However, I doubt you'd be completely satisfied by that alone. After all, though she was Beatrice reborn to you, she didn't think of herself that way. How can you know that? Whenever she was called Beatrice, she got this feeling she couldn't shake away, a feeling like something was out of place. People never feel anything out of place about the name they're given at the time of their birth. However, she did have that feeling. That must mean she was aware that the name Beatrice wasn't hers. In Ecuadorian, she asked both Kinzo and Rosa about who she was. Who am I? Everyone called me Beatrice, and that does indeed seem to be the name of a great witch, as you say. But that isn't me. I cannot use any magic. I simply have the soul of that witch sitting inside my body. Her memory would have returned eventually. She must really have been Beatrice reborn. Her memory was coming back bit by bit. My magical ceremonies were helping her regain memories one little bit at a time. Exactement ce que Butler a fait au chapitre 6 en fait. Exactement ce que Butler a fait dans le chapitre 6 avec une autre forme de Béatrice, on va dire. Head-sama. There's no need to be surprised. If you line the information in all the games so far, this is the obvious answer you get. The high-level Beatrice talked about this. By metaphor, she said that Kinzo refused to let the witch's soul escape even after death, and instead caught it and locked it up in a body of flesh. She also said that her power and memory had been sealed. If you might interpretation of hers to this theory, it all makes sense. With Sama, thanks to powerful magical ceremonies, the master gained a reborn child of the dead Beatrice-sama. That cannot be denied. I won't deny the star. And I don't intend to doubt the depths of Kinzo's love for this woman called Beatrice. A man shows his affection for a child, while the only living reminder of her mother is no one's business. If she grew to look more and more like Beatrice and Kinzo's love gave rise to a new special emotion, I find that a very human reaction. Think you can understand my love? I'm not qualified to understand it, however, I'm also not qualified to deny it. Oh, Beatrice, please, forgive me. Kinzo sobbed quietly for a while, wiping away his tears. Because of love, he believed she was Beatrice reborn, and raised her that way. However, somewhere in his heart, he might have felt pangs of conscience, telling him that he might be forcing his emotion on someone who wasn't really Beatrice. Then the Beatrice of Ecuadorian had an unexpected guest, Rosa. Donc il n'y a pas d'histoire de monculus en fait. Ça parlait de ça en mode il l'a fait en bébé prouvette, mais c'est vraiment la fille de sa compagne d'un temps. That woman simply couldn't believe that she was the Beatrice Kinzo desired. She couldn't stand the fact that she didn't understand who she was, and she wanted to escape to the outside world. Then she fell from the cliff and died. Kenji handled that death, which couldn't become public knowledge, very quietly. Funerals aren't for the dead. They exist so that those who are alive can sever their ties with the dead. You could never do that. That's why it festers within you. Beatrice, oh. Grandfather, you lost your mistress' daughter. Now you lost Beatrice twice. Unable to let that sorrow show on the outside, you kept it locked up in your heart, and it eventually festered and turned to madness. That's what spurred on your abnormally strong interest in the occult in your later years. Oh, Beatrice. Why did you leave me twice? Your smile, that beautiful hair, those eyes. Why did you die in my heart not once but twice? En vrai, terrible Kinzo. Mais pédophile quoi. D'un côté. Is that how much you... Oh. By now Kinzo wasn't even trying to suppress his sobs. He sometimes scratched at his head in anguish, sometimes faced the heavens like an opera singer. Kinzo yelled over and over again, repeating Beatrice's name. M'étonne pas. At that moment, there was a quiet sound of a door closing. When they turned around, she was already there. Kumasawa had appeared. If they already know that much, perhaps we can tell them the rest. So if they know that much, I don't believe there is anything more to tell. Now we should tell them. As a woman, I've always thought that the heart of Ecuadorians Beatrice is a story that should be told. And now someone has appeared who is worthy to hear it. I believe that now is the time to tell all, without holding back. Well, Sawa-san, do you know something about Beatrice? Of course she does. In the fourth game, we have testimony from the ferryboat captain saying that Kumasawa went in and out of Ecuadorian. I'd be willing to bet that Kumasawa had different work shifts at the mansion in Ecuadorian. There was a young girl to be taken care of. Kumasawa, with a long experience in taking care of children, must have been of immense value. That is correct. You might even call me a wet nurse. No way, I can't believe it. So everything Wilson is saying is the truth? Yes, it is a fact. A secret mansion was constructed on the opposite side of this island for Beatrice-sama. Ecuadorian's existence is truth. I don't know when Kinzo married his official wife, but at that time he already had an enormous store of wealth and had bought Rokanjima Hall. He then built two mansions and set up two separate lives. Kinzo's children had also been aware of Kinzo's clandestine eccentricities at the time. It probably hadn't been easy to maintain those separate lives. Moreover, Kinzo would have been suspicious and had sniffed around all the time. The master stayed in Ecuadorian as much as time allowed. He would sometimes pretend to go on a business trip and stay there for several days, treasuring the time he spent with Beatrice-sama. It was not a father-daughter relationship. You could sometimes catch a glimpse of his great love for the dead Beatrice-sama, and it was a heartwarming thing. The way you say it makes it sound like it's something treated her as a substitute for the dead Beatrice. Oh, if it sounded that way, my apologies. Beatrice-sama probably accepted her father's love. However, I will not deny that she was sometimes forced to bear a love she didn't understand. Horrible, horrible. En fait, comme on le disait à la base, quand on a vu Rosa la voir et tout, c'est la Belle et la Bête, quoi. Le syndrome de Stockholm. Donc Kinzo, est-ce qu'on peut faire le compte et pédophile et incestueux, du coup? Si on peut faire le compte... Toujours un meilleur parent que Rosa. Alors, ça se discute du coup, mais... Kumasawa's tone made it sound as though she was scolding Kinzo. As a mother who had raised many kids, Kumasawa had probably spotted that Kinzo's love was sometimes misplaced. However, the more she grew to look like a mother, the more distorted and twisted Kinzo's heart became. Because of his deep love, it grew very, very twisted. You are right to scold me, my friend. I understand. My love is eternal and undying. However, I must acknowledge that I poured that affection onto the wrong person. Grandfather? Wait, you don't mean... Leon-sama! All humans in this world are tied to each other. Even if we do not notice, there is always some sort of tie. Those ties wrap themselves around people and bring them together. No way, grandfather. Just as Kinzo has done. Leon! Also wiped away tears and stared down at the floor. Apparently the truth had been too much of a shock for the young successor to handle. On s'en fout, elle n'existe pas. Cher. Master, the time to speak has arrived, has it not? I see, so the time has come, my friend. Unless you tell us, none of the truth will become clear. Master, I believe they may have the qualification and the right to know. I know. Perhaps on this day on my fecal funeral, Beatrice in heaven has given me a chance to atone. Forgive me for not telling you this before now. After taking a deep breath, Kinzo finally lowered the hand that had been covering his face and looked at Will and Leon with those red eyes. Grandfather, listen to Leon! Guessed. Willard, was it? Yeah. I thank you for giving me a chance to speak of the truth while I'm still able. You must surely be a messenger from heaven sent by Beatrice. You have my gratitude. Beatrice isn't the one you have to thank. They're just a witch. Well, I guess they're both witches. I do not care who it was. I've been given a chance. That is enough. Thank you, Willard. Kinzo slowly stood up and held out his right hand. He was offering to shake hands. It must have been Kinzo's way of expressing his gratitude. Will responded. Then the two hands gripped each other tightly in silence. When they did, the bright light poured out from the gap between the two hands. Will felt as though something the size of a grain had burned itself into his palm. It was the power that Castle had given him. The light grew brighter and brighter. However, it seemed that Kinzo and the other couldn't see it. Now I will speak. I met Beatrice. Beatrice Castiglione. C'est vraiment Golden Wind, hein? Just before the end of the war. C'est une italienne, Beatrice. She came from across the sea. Oula! On dirait Butler avec les cheveux blancs. Are you Kinzo? Oh! It's how grandfather looked in the past. I've seen photos. Just what on earth? The theater-going power that Castle gave me. Don't try to understand. I just get a headache. You're getting the hang of this. C'est Kinzo jeune! Je viens de le dire, on dirait vraiment Butler. Avec les cheveux blancs. At one time, Genji told Butler that he looked like Kinzo in his youth. Sure enough, though the young Kinzo wasn't exactly the same as Butler, they looked very similar. Allow me to introduce myself again. I am Shiromiya Kinzo. On dirait vraiment Butler. C'est pour ça le Richie de Gap. Insane. Alors juste, j'avais dit chapitre 3, je pense, ou 4, je sais pas, il y a vraiment longtemps. Ah, ça serait bien qu'on ait un truc sur la jeunesse de Kinzo. Je l'ai dit il y a vraiment longtemps. Le moment est arrivé. Let me to introduce myself again. I'm Shiromiya Kinzo. Grandfather? And the voice seemed to resemble Butler somehow. Est-ce qu'il n'y a pas un truc? Est-ce qu'on peut pas commencer à monter une théorie Butler égale Kinzo? Pas du tout. N'écrivez pas Noted. Et là, ce serait fou en vrai. Even the voice seemed to resemble Butler's somehow. Clearly Butler had inherited Kinzo's blood more thickly than any other. I had no desire to succeed your family headship. My being chosen as the head was nothing more than a prank of fate. In the Great Kanto earthquake, those in charge passed away and you were selected from the branch families. That's correct. After our grandfather was wise despite his youth, and he already possessed a dignity fitting for the headship. Ridiculous. Those greedy elders kept looking over their own personal interest and couldn't decide on a new head at all. It was a foolish as arguing about who the new captain should be on a sinking ship. So, since you had no connection with anyone in the main family, you were selected right out of the blue. It's all because of my toes. If only I had one less toe of each foot on each foot, my life may have turned out quite differently. In the Usham family, polydactyly was seen as a mark of good fortune. After all, many of the great ones in the family history had possessed it. It was all very pathetic. The elders didn't care whom they dragged as long as it wouldn't benefit any one of them particularly. It just happened to her that someone in one of the branch families had 6 toes and decided that would do well enough. Precisely. The elders didn't care what sort of novice became the next head as long as they could make him their puppets. In fact, the more this person was ignorant of the leadership, the better it would be for them. Grandfather. Leon! It is quite different in your case. You'll be the one who inherits everything I have. That is the fate you were granted on the day of your birth. That is why I gave you that silver ring and raised you so strictly. You are quite different from me. You are already a splendid successor of whom no one could be ashamed. Yes, sir. A puppet for a head. I doubt that could have been easy. As he pondered about where to begin, Kinzel laughed bitterly. It would probably bring back painful memories no matter where he started from. It lasted for so long, that span of great days. That dizzying stretch of time I spent dead, like moss growing on a rock. I became the rope in the tongue of war between the elders who thought of nothing but their own profit, and I probably couldn't have snapped at any moment. Our people are far more resilient than one would think. So I spent so many days I saw I had been killed. I was not killed. So I was forced to search for death on my own. Before I realized it, I had reached an age at which the young would laugh at me if I tried to call myself young. That dizzyingly long stretch of grey was left completely empty. It lasted for a full 20 years. In 20 years a person can be born, find a purpose, and even become their own man with their own place in the world. In short, if one truly become a human only when they have become a working adult. Then I spent a period of time long enough to create a human, doing nothing but playing the part of those greedy eldest puppets. Ironically, though at time aging my body, I did not age my mind. My mind alone was still as young as it had been during those rich, happy days before I was summoned to Odawara, and yet my body alone grew older and older. Eventually, the vast gap between the two reached almost incomprehensible levels, so I could hardly believe that the worn-out man in the mirror was really me. No, it really wasn't me. The head of the Ushumiya family was just a name. It had no power, it didn't require that I have any independence. There was no need for me to get involved with anything. I was just a doll sitting there on the door rack, gathering dust. I remember nothing but lazily flipping through Western books I liked, locking myself up inside my own world, doing nothing but playing with roses and drinking terrible drinks, and it lasted a full 20 years. Before I knew it, I suddenly had a wife I did not know. It wasn't any wife I had chosen. It was the daughter of some noble family that the elders had chosen and forced on me for their own reasons, but that did not matter to me. I did not love my wife, but neither did I dislike her. I just didn't care. I fathered a few children, but that wasn't a lot of love for my wife. They were just born before I knew it. That's all there was to it. None of it mattered. No, that's not quite right. Everything was decided by someone other than me, and I simply obeyed. En vrai, de vrai, hein. Je vais parler ça. La vie de Kinzo a été terrible de bout en bout. Genre, je veux pas... je veux pas... comment dire? Pas dire que ces agissements sont justifiés, hein. Dans certains aspects. Mais terrible vie quand même, hein. That was a job of the Ushura family head. Yes, on some level I did feel as though I was being slowly and quietly killed. I can't believe it, to think that you, the one who has been praised for being such a bold and wise ruler, lived like that for so long. Leon! There is nothing too long and faint as a life as you don't live for yourself. And yet it slides on by the blink of an eye. Do not forget this. A life you live for yourself. Living means having your own will. Probably were dead during that time. Precisely, I wanted to live. No, I wanted to die. How can a puppet die? By cutting the strings. Correct. C'est littéralement l'histoire de Spamton dans Deltarune, quoi. Spamton Neo, genre. It will be death and it will be also be life, since it won't mean being free. Ah, désolé le faux, il fallait être à jour. Ah, ça va, Spamton c'est un boss optionnel, c'est pas non plus... Ça va pas te gâcher l'expérience. T'inquiète. Après, une fois il parle de spoil, il a écouté tous les remixes de Big Shot, ouais, ce que j'allais dire possible et imaginable. Après, c'est littéralement le même meaning que Spamton, en mode je vais être libre et couper les cordes, quoi. Before I realized it, trouble was brewing in the world. C'est que c'est possiblement un grand fan d'UMINEKO, hein. C'est très possible, parce que il a tellement lu de trucs japonais, lui, ça m'étonnerait même pas que ce soit le cas, hein. Ça m'étonnerait pas du tout. Ah bah, tu vois, comme ça, comme quoi. Il l'a dit où? Il l'a dit quand? Je veux voir Toby qui acknowledge UMINEKO, genre. Mais j'y crois totalement, hein. C'est un grand fan de VN et un grand fan de tout ce qui est japonais, hein. Donc j'y crois à mort, hein. World War II, the Pacific War. Japan had extended their war front too fast in the east and west, and the tide of war was changing. Thanks to the influence of the elders, I was able to avoid conscription. Of course, this was no out of compassion for me. It was because I was their precious puppet, so the war never really felt that close to me. However, when I personally decided to abandon their protection, it was very easy. At that time, the Ushima family had almost completely collapsed, and since the elders apparently gathered enough for the scraps to last them the rest of their lives, they seemed to care little for what I did, know that they no longer had any use for me. So I realized that I had finally found my time to die. One by one, I cut the thread I was hanging from and began to search for a place to end my life. So you search for death on the battlefield? I thought that while I was going to die anyway, I should try to be of some use to my country. No, that's a lie. I probably just lacked the willpower to end my own life. What was a suitable excuse for this? I heard that grandfather had knowledge necessary for public works projects and construction, so I was tasked with setting up facilities for the Navy construction team. Quoi? C'est vrai? Quel ending? L'ending que je dois pas écouter, j'imagine, du coup? L'ending ending. Ou un ending d'un chapitre, genre. Alors, tu sais que c'est incroyable parce que les vidéos de Toby qui existent sur internet où on le voit physiquement sont très rares, hein. Donc, garde ça trop précieusement. Envoie-la moi, si jamais je peux écouter. And what a foolish mistake that was. If only I just said that I know those full skills, I could have been sent to the dangerous front line right away. Mais chante quel ending? Ouvrir le lien. Google Chrome.
This guy knows the song.
Je reconnais même pas la musique, donc... Et c'est vraiment Toby en plus, hein. Ça se voit que c'est lui. C'est... Il a l'air très fan. Ça m'étonne, mais alors, Zéro. Voilà. Y a rien. C'est fourchette dans la cuisine, quoi. Vraiment, j'aurais pas pu être moins étonné que ça, je pense. Je pense. So you didn't need to go to the front lines? Some of the older were overjoyed at the luck. It was the opposite for me. I only wanted to get drunk on the liquor and I was dying for the sake of one country. The US plane did nothing but cut across the skies of that forgotten island. They didn't have even a bullet to spare for me, much less a bomb. This is the time you met Beatrice, grandfather? Correct. She came to me from the sea. Where did you meet her? You mentioned an island. Yes, this island. That's where she arrived. Oh, ho, 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 ho. Même pendant la guerre, il était à Rokkenjima en train de préparer des trucs pour l'armée, du coup. Waouh. You met here on Rokkenjima? What's going on? I heard that Rokkenjima was an habitation until you bought it, grandfather. I never knew there was a Japanese military base here. C'est Higurashi, hein. C'est littéralement Higurashi, faites pas gaffe. Ah yes, you could hardly call that a military base. It was just a cave. I was one of the... C'est quelle année, Inamizawa? Welcome to Inamizawa. Alors, tu serais très surpris, Matermine. Je vais rien dire, mais tu serais très surpris. La question est folle et la réponse peut l'être aussi. Je peux rien dire. Tu poses une question troll, mais elle est pas si trollesque, si je peux me permettre. Peut-être. D'ailleurs, ils en sont où sur le When They Cry, le... Siliconia, là? Je me suis dit, ah, ça a l'air sympa. Bah, c'est un When They Cry, ça doit être trop bien. Et en fait, il y a genre un chapitre, je crois. C'est censé se finir un jour ou pas? Ah ouais, d'accord. Bah, on n'aura jamais la fin, quoi. Globalement. Alors, Persona 2, je sais que... Mais attends, je sais qu'il y a des gens qui veulent un remake de Persona 2. Mais, bah déjà, bon, bah, c'est un secret pour personne qu'il y a Hitler dans Persona 2. Mais... Et vraiment, vrai Hitler, hein. C'est pas un alias ou je sais pas quoi. Vraiment, Adolf Hitler est un boss de Persona 2. Mais, au-delà de ça, dans Persona 2, si tu veux faire un remake, il faut enlever approximativement 800 croix gammées, je pense. Voilà. Ceux qui savent, savent. J'en dirai pas plus. 1944. OMG. Due to the honorable defeats at Saipan and Guam, Japan's absolute national defense zone strategy was in shambles. Where had the gallantry shown at Pearl Harbor gone? The old attackers were now the ones on the defensive. At that time, it was said that the last trump card for the Japanese military was a type of man torpedo known as the Kaiten. It was said that the ultimate weapon, packed with 1.55 tons of explosive, were capable of sinking any kind of warship with a single blast. To strengthen homeland defense, the Navy drafted the plan to build a string of hidden bases from Hachijo Island to... Je crois que j'ai... Attends. Ça veut dire qu'il y a des bombes à Rokkenjima? Donc la théorie des small bombs de Butler, le mec qui revient à ça. Est-ce que ça veut dire qu'il y en a à Rokkenjima, du coup? Je pense que oui. All to house submarines loaded with kites and torpedoes. Oh, that there was a Kaitan base constructed on Achijo Island. But was there actually one on Rokkenjima too? What fool decided it would be a good idea to plant a base on this desolate island? To better preserve its secrecy? Ridiculous. I could never understand what the higher-ups were thinking, and I didn't particularly want to. A Kaitan which could fish off a live warship with a single strike truly was an ultimate weapon. It was hoped that the presence of submarines capable of loading these weapons in the waters just off of Japan would allow for a powerful sea ambush as a final line of defense. So to aid in the establishment of a base with absolute secrecy on an inhabited island, Rokkenjima was raised as a possible candidate. J'ai une théorie de fou malade. Du coup. Mais... je pense que là, c'est la schizophrénie qui parle. C'est grâce à Higurashi. Mais je pense pas, parce que du coup, ça... y aurait... bah... ouais, bon, bah, vas-y. Ok. Ça résoudrait le... c'est une théorie qui résoudrait le... pourquoi Butler a pu mourir alors qu'il était tout seul sur l'île. Dans une des... dans un des tales. Et pas mes lunettes, je les trouve plus. Je suis désolé. Je peux faire ça si vous voulez. J'ai pas les lunettes, mais... ça expliquerait pourquoi Butler a pu mourir alors qu'il était seul sur l'île et que c'était confirmé en rouge. Est-ce que c'est possible qu'en 86, tout est boum boum, genre tout a explosé, genre c'est juste ça s'il faut, hein. C'est juste boum boum en fait. C'est peut-être juste ça, c'est peut-être juste boum boum. Parce que j'imagine que ça a pas pété à l'époque, vu que Rokkenjima est intact en 86. Mais est-ce que quelqu'un aurait pu faire boum boum l'île? Et c'est à cause de ça, tout ce qui s'est passé? Peut-être. Mais du coup, ça pourrait vouloir dire qu'il n'y a aucun coupable et que c'est complètement accidentel aussi. C'est pas impossible. En fait, je vois pas pourquoi. En fait, ce qui me met cette puce-là à l'oreille, c'est que je ne vois pas pourquoi il nous parlerait de ça maintenant. Ça a forcément un intérêt quelconque. Comment 1,55 tonnes de bombes ça peut... Eva a survécu, c'est vrai ça. C'est pas faux ça. Il suffit qu'elle ait vraiment... imaginons, elle a vraiment résolu l'épitaphe et elle était en sous-sol. Il suffit que ce soit un espèce de bunker souterrain pour se protéger des bombes. Voilà. Plié. Voilà. Un truc comme ça, quoi. En fait, quand elle y va, il y a une porte, on dirait un bunker un peu. Genre, bah, quand ils y vont, on dirait vraiment que c'est un sous-sol, quoi. Ça doit être dans le tunnel pour aller à Kua Dorian et tout, là. Mais ça peut très bien être une espèce de bunker souterrain. Et là, tu survis aux bombes, quoi. Mais du coup, ça poserait la question de pourquoi d'autres n'en auraient pas eu connaissance et ne se seraient pas abrités, tu vois. Je sais pas. Quand elle ressort, il n'y a plus d'île. C'est vrai. Non mais, elle peut ressortir et juste c'est désolé. L'île est désolée, mais... En fait, en fait, ce qui est bizarre dans la théorie... Ce qui est très bizarre dans la théorie, c'est que du coup, ils auraient pas oublié de mentionner, à chaque fois qu'ils parlent de l'incident de Rokkenjima dans le monde réel, par exemple avec Ange après, qu'ils auraient pas mentionné une explosion, quoi. Ça, oui. Ça rend la théorie impossible, en fait. Genre, personne, dans le monde de 98, n'aurait mentionné une explosion, quoi. Et surtout, ils ont retrouvé les corps... Ils ont retrouvé les corps, enfin, ça avait l'air des meurtres, etc. Donc, ouais, en fait, non, je pense pas. Mais la théorie est marrante. Cela dit. La théorie est marrante, juste bah oui, en fait elle se fait contrer par le fait que personne n'ait jamais mentionné une explosion dans le monde d'après, entre guillemets, quoi. La théorie est drôle, mais je pense qu'elle va nulle part, du coup. Juste à cause de ça. Mais pourquoi nous parler de ça maintenant, du coup? C'est ça la vraie question. An investigation of the island resulted in the discovery of a large cave in the cliffs, and it was apparently deemed to be a suitable location for a submarine base. J'ai fait une théorie à la Battler avec les small bombs, là. So you were tasked with aiding in the establishment of that base? Establishment? Certainly, if you can call digging out a cave's establishment. Not only that, the base was abandoned before its completion. Why? Because at that time, Japan no longer had any submarines large enough to transport a K-10 torpedo. Oh, truly laughable. What's the point in having a submarine base if there aren't any submarines left? If there's only one thing that never changed, it's politicians and their meaningless projects. The base on Achicho Island was outfitted with K-10 torpedoes and became a base for direct attacks. But Rokkanjima was never supplied with any. Furthermore, the construction was eventually suspended, and a minimum number of men were stationed on the island, waiting for orders from above that never came. Could the fact that it was a hidden base actually have sealed our fate? The higher-ups had already completely forgotten about this useless and pointless cavern. We were nothing more than guards for a mere cave. We spent our days farming, fishing, and playing with the dirt, all the while gazing up at the American formation flying past. Some of our group were relieved at the prospects of the war ending before anyone remembered we were here, and before any of us had to face a real battle. Of course, it was the opposite for me. I hoped and hoped for the American troops to advance and kill me as soon as possible. Those days were empty and blank. Let us go back to the turning point in my life and my fate. The time that Ushio Miyakinzo finally became truly alive. Est-ce que j'arrêterai pas maintenant, en fait? Je suis en train de me dire, là. J'ai peur de devoir m'arrêter à un... J'ai peur de devoir m'arrêter à un endroit qui va être chiant, en fait. Je sais pas. Hein. Je peux continuer une demi-heure, mais j'ai peur de m'arrêter à un endroit où ça va être relou de m'arrêter, quoi. Je sais pas. Je me tâte. C'est même pas une heure là, j'ai une demi-heure quoi, en gros, avant le match. Et j'ai l'impression que ça peut être long là, ce qu'on va nous présenter, vu que c'est la rencontre de Kinzo et Beatrice, visiblement, vu que c'est comme ça qu'on dit maintenant apparemment. Est-ce que j'arrête maintenant? Peut-être mieux, hein. En vrai, ouais, c'est peut-être mieux alors. En tout cas, je garde ma théorie en tête de Eva qui rentre dans un bunker souterrain, qui ressort et il n'y a plus rien. Ça, faut la garder dans un coin de la tête. C'est quand même... Oh non, Rokkanjima qui va exploser du coup. Non. Non, non, non. Bon bah écoutez, en vrai je vais peut-être m'arrêter là. Demain je lancerai une session. Il y a un archi normalement vers 5-6 heures. Mais je lancerai une session après, genre dans la nuit comme là. Et puis voilà. Ce sera pas mal. Là j'ai l'impression que c'est vraiment le chapitre. Le chapitre qui devrait s'appeler Révélation quoi. Je pense. À mon humble avis. Du coup, bah, on garde la théorie de Eva dans son bunker et puis on rigole un peu. Bisous YouTube, à demain, une session un petit peu plus longue j'espère. Parce que ce que je disais le faux c'est que en fait là je pouvais continuer à jouer qu'une demi-heure et vu que ça avait l'air d'être la rencontre Kinzo Beatrice, je voulais pas couper en plein milieu quoi. Ça me paraissait être un bon moment pour arrêter, en vrai. Je relancerai demain. Du coup, ouais, il y a Archie vers 17 ou 18 heures. Donc, je vais pouvoir lancer un peu dans la nuit. Pareil, je ferai pas une session très longue demain. Euh, mais on va essayer de finir assez vite quand même le jeu. Bisous YouTube. À demain pour une prochaine session sur le chapitre 7. Ciao, ciao YouTube.